Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
What is it?
It's a 1-year membership in the Jelly of the Month Club.
Oh, God.
Clark, it's the gift that keeps on giving the whole year.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money, the Worry-Free Retirement, with your host, Tony Walker.
If you got it, you don't need it. If you need it, you don't got it. You don't get it, shame on you. Funny, funny, funny what money can do. Them that have it get more of it. The less they need it, the more they love it. And it sticks to them like glue. Funny, funny, funny what money can do.
For many, during the month of December anyway, it's become an annual ritual, I know at our household, of watching the hilarious movie Christmas Vacation. Now to me, one of the most memorable scenes in the movie is the part where Clark Griswold, played by Chevy Chase, finally receives what he thinks to be this large Christmas bonus, only to discover that instead of a large bonus to cover the cost of a pool he's committed to but can't afford, he gets a lifetime membership to the Jelly of the Month Club. The paradox to this is, as Clark gazes in shock at this no bonus and Jelly of the Month Club deal, his cousin Eddie, played by Randy Quaid, looks at the bright side by saying it's the gift that keeps on giving. Well, welcome to the Worry-Free Retirement. I am your host and 401k specialist, Tony Walker. And for the next 28 minutes or so, me and my faithful sidekick, America's favorite financial sidekick, by the way, Aaron Orander, are going to entertain you and, yes, educate you about the assessment of life during what we call halftime. But first of all, we've got to bring in old Aaron. How you doing, Aaron? Everything going okay today?
Good morning, sir. I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Good, good. You know this part, don't you, in the movie?
Oh, the Jelly of the Month? Yeah. This movie's hilarious.
You know, and we'll cover this theme throughout the show. You know a little bit about that, what's so true. What do you think is so true about Christmas? What is the paradox of Christmas? You get together, gifts. I mean, obviously it's supposed to be a joyous time, but we're talking about the concept of paradox. What are you seeing in this paradox of Chevy Chase's reaction to this versus Cousin Eddie's?
Well, I mean, depending on where you are in life, Cousin Eddie's like, oh, that's the gift that keeps on giving, Clark. I mean, Cousin Eddie would be thrilled to get a Jelly of the Month Club certificate like that. He'd be thrilled, And
expectations.
Yeah,
a little
Clark was
right?
expecting something much bigger. He wanted a pool. He even says something like, if there's anything left over, I'm going to fly all of you down. I mean, he is expecting this huge sum of money, and it turns out to be nothing.
And in life, in retirement, Aaron, it's a little like that. In other words, I think our expectations sometimes of retirement, or at least this is the feedback I get from my clients, since obviously I'm not retired, is kind of like Clark. Sometimes it actually doesn't turn out to what it is, and the paradox is, in one of the wealthiest countries the world's ever known, this is certainly a big dilemma. Now, Handy, a guy by the name of Handy, Charles Hanley, wrote a book on this issue of paradox. And basically, Handy, I guess if he was kind of trying to summarize Eddie's feelings, he would say that a paradox, like Eddie making the statement that, hey, this is great, Jelly of the Month Club, is seemingly contradictory or opposed to common sense. So again, while Clark is depressed and mad and angry, Eddie tends to look at the bright side, which on a common sense basis, the average person would say, I don't agree with it, but that's the paradox. He sees it one way, Clark sees it another. And such is the deal with retirement, folks. Everybody has a different vision of retirement. Your vision of retirement, my vision of retirement, they can all vary depending on who you are, what your financial personality is, how much money you have, and so forth and so on. So the paradox in financial planning and retirement planning is, here it is. If all you'll do, Aaron, I'm the big old financial world now. I'm controlling all these 401ks. Aaron, if all you'll do is sock all your money away in the 401k, one day, my friend, you'll have all the money you'll ever need and you'll have no worries. And the paradox with that is, I see a lot of people that come to me, and even though they have a lot of money in their 401k, they're still worried. Now, why would that be, you think?
Well, because there's going to be taxes on that money.
Taxes. They didn't know about that until they meet me. Sometimes it's bad news when you meet me because I'm going to speak the truth. The truth is, you don't have the Jelly of the Month Club, obviously. You've got a problem. What else could be the concern once they really retire? Now, we're talking about savers, folks, people that are very conservative with their money. They want a lot of certainty in their life. What could be that other concern? You're retired now. Oh, gosh, now I learned out there's a big tax tumor. What else could be a concern?
Well, the simple fact that they feel like they just haven't saved enough. They've been led to believe just save more, save more, save more. Don't take those vacations. Don't give your grandkids the money. Just save and save because you're going to need it.
That's right.
That's what they really try to drive home is you're going to need this money.
And the other issue there is risk. So I was talking to a couple. We're going to talk about this a couple a little later. I was talking to a couple the other day. And Handy also says in his book, it's a great quote, he says, sometimes what got you there won't keep you there. Okay, so let's think about this. And this may be you. You're riding down the road. Again, we're talking about halftime. Halftime is the period of time generally between about 55 and 70. This is kind of the three phases of life that I kind of work from. But so you're sitting there and you've got all this money in a 401k. The market's been great lately. Nobody can argue about the stock market going up. But you're getting close to retirement. This is what the young lady I talked to the other day is thinking about. So what got you to that point of thinking you could retire is a big 401k. You with me, Aaron? Let's say you're like most Americans. You put all your money in there. The market's gone up, but the question is, do you know for certain that 401k, that stock market, is going to continue to stay where it is or continue to go up? Any guarantees with that?
Nope.
Not a guarantee whatsoever, folks. So the paradox is, what got you there sometimes won't keep you there. So you're thinking that you've got all this money in the 401k, and as Aaron rightly quoted there, number one, the biggest issue you've got is a tax tumor. You got to deal with that thing. As we've been talking about on the show, the other issue is who knows what the taxes are going to be one day. I mean, some of the experts out there, we showed that movie, The Power of Zero. What they're saying is, gosh, we could be back in the 40, 50, 60% range one day. I mean, we were in the 70% range years ago, so that $1 million 401k or $500,000 401k, whatever's in there, maybe 30, 40, 50%, who knows, is really not your money. So what we're going to do when we come back, we're going to talk about this whole paradox of all these baby boomers, which I'm in that slot of folks, all these baby boomers approaching retirement, thinking everything's fine, and also why in the world, if you're a baby boomer, out of the blue, you're starting to get all of these dinner seminar invitations from financial advisors. Why in the world would a complete stranger want to spend $50 on you to get you to a steak dinner? Stay tuned. You're listening to The Worry-Free Retirement. You're going to find out.
Are you missing out on thousands of dollars in Social Security benefits? Find out by attending a free Social Security workshop presented by nationally recognized Social Security expert Heather Schreiber. Tuesday, June 11th in Louisville and Wednesday, June 12th in Bowling Green. Learn frequent common mistakes people make with their Social Security and how to avoid them, regardless of whether you're retired or retiring soon. Register now, as seating is limited. To claim your free seat, log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. That's TonyWalkerFinancial.com.
Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement. We're trying to help our listeners today understand this concept of halftime, that period of time where you've recently retired or thinking about retirement, and this concept of a paradox, what Charles Handy refers to as the concept of what got you there may not keep you there. So, according to actuaries, all right, here I am, you're going, oh gosh, he's going to talk about me dying again. But anyway, according to actuaries are the folks that sit around all day and try to figure out when we're going to die, how long we're going to live. That's called our life expectancy. So think about this for a minute. Get your arms wrapped around this. Let's say you're 65 years of age. Aaron, this is why you need to enjoy the moments, partner, okay? All right, Aaron's much younger than me. Assuming you're 65 years of age and in decent health, all right? The actuaries tell us for males, Aaron, take a guess at this. First thing comes to mind. How much longer do you think a 65-year-old male, on average, is expected to live? How many years? Quick.
25 years.
25. 11.
11 years?
11 years, on average.
I wasn't even close.
All right, let's go to the females. A 65-year-old female. The actuaries, how long do they think they'll live? How many years?
Generally, females are supposed to live longer than males, so I'll say like 15.
That's pretty close. Okay. 16.
16.
Very good.
Okay. All right.
Well, no, not supposedly. You want to do something fun? We ought to do this one day. We ought to ride around a couple of nursing homes and drop in. You'll see about 9 females walking around with one guy.
Yeah.
Now, you might say, lucky dog you, but I mean, they're in their 60s and 70s. But anyway, no, that's true. Most women will outlive men. Not only will they outlive them, they'll outlive them for 5 or 6 years. But I think the interesting part, again, this is average, so people could live a lot longer or less. What's interesting, Aaron, think about this. You've not literally worked 65 years, but you've walked around for 65 years on Earth. Maybe you spent 40 of those years working and saving for how many years? You're a male. If you retired at 65 under this assumption.
40 years.
Okay, but you worked 40 years, now you're 65. How much longer are you going to have to enjoy this money?
Oh, how much longer? 11 years.
Kind of puts it in perspective, don't you? So all this worry, all this toil, all this, I got to have more money. You know, they keep telling me I'm going to run out. Watched an article the other day. I'm supposed to have $2 million when I'm 85 years of age. First thing I'd say is you may not even make it to 85. Secondly, as you get into the second half of life, we'll assess that next week, you start spending less and less. And finally, unfortunately, and I'm going to tell a story in a minute, it's a true story, and I'm not making light of this, you may not even make it to 65. So, folks, there's a balance. A retirement specialist that's truly trained to help savers, a retirement specialist's job is to strike a balance. Number one, we got to save money, but more importantly, a retirement specialist's job is to help you learn how to use and enjoy it. So you've got to put this in perspective, folks, and this is why if you're getting ready to retire but don't think you can, we need to talk. Many of you are in your late 50s. I had a gentleman that came in the other day and he said, Tony, this happens sometimes there, and they are just burned out. He's like, I'm 59, I make good money, which that's his enticement. He's afraid to retire because he does make good money in this example, but I'm burned out, I've been socking money away, and their question is always, I know you think I'm crazy, but can I retire now? To which I would say, well, let's see. Because, you know, if somebody, I've got several of you, and you're probably listening to this show, some of you right now, you've probably worked your you-know-what off. You may be 56, 57. But your body and mind, because of how hard you worked, is really already like a 64, 65-year-old. So you may want to retire because of that fact that you have worked so hard and been so diligent. You need to maybe reward yourself. And quite frankly, depending on how hard you've run, how hard your life has been, and the life expectancy of your parents. This is a huge deal. I met with a couple the other day, Aaron. The male, we were talking about this, the husband, his mom and dad are in their late 80s still alive. Okay, so we don't know for sure, but he's got a pretty good chance of living a long time, right?
Okay.
The wife, this was unusual. Usually it's the men always going, she's going to die before me, whatever, you know. She was going, I don't think I'll make it past him. Her father died at a young age of cancer. Her mom is very, very ill. They're in their, of course, the mom's only in her early 70s. So she's sitting there thinking, I don't know about this. So it's interesting. He's okay with work, makes good money, would like to consider retirement soon. Guess who wants him to retire now? Her. And I said, which I think I knew the answer, but I said, why is it? And she said, because I want to spend more time with him. I want to do things. I don't want to wait for him to retire in 4 or 5 years. And the other thing is, this is so interesting. These people are at halftime, folks. So I'm describing actual people I meet. They're at halftime now. Guess who else is no longer in the house? So this guy travels all over the world. The kids have moved out. So now she's been raising kids, running all over the place. She still works too, but she's, wait a minute. You know, I'm having to spend a lot of time here by myself. It's not as much fun as it used to be. The kids have moved out. So my thought to him was, hey, maybe you like working, but maybe you could do another job where you're not traveling so much. And he was open to that. So folks, halftime, you really do. It's an analogy would be like a ball game. We've talked about this, but just picture football, basketball. Obviously, there's no halftime in baseball. They do the 7th inning stretch. I think that's just where people run to the concession stand. That's not what we're talking about. So if you think about a ball game, and I talk about this in my first book, The Worry-Free Retirement. The worry-free retirement concept is the first half you work hard, you save hard. Then your life starts to change a little bit. Kids are grown. They're out of school. Maybe you have less and less debt. Maybe you've had aging parents and you're going, wait a minute, hey, I ain't going to live forever either. When am I going to retire? You know, you really start having a serious look at this. So the idea is you go into the locker room should have a coach, that's what we would be in this example, that is well trained and well versed in the second half of life. The second half of life would be past age 70 in most cases. So what we want to do, again, like Andy said, what got you there won't keep you there. It's the same thing in basketball or football. You may be leading the first half, but at halftime, I can assure you the opposing coach of that team is trying to figure out how to beat you. They are not going to come out of the locker room in the second half with the same game plan. If you think you can just keep your money in the stock market and just let her rip and all that good stuff, you can do that if you want to, but what I would rather see you do, especially if you're a saver, let's take halftime seriously. Let's really take a realistic look at what you want to do in halftime. What are some of your goals? What are some of your concerns? What are some legitimate threats to that halftime? And let's just really take a look at it. And let's change the game plan. So I know we've showed a slide on TV. We're going to probably put this on the TV show again, but we talked about the idea of what if we could earn 2% with no risk and still accomplish your objectives. Remember that slide, Aaron? Versus 10% that we're trying to get, but it has risk. So a lot of you think in order to accomplish your goals and objectives in retirement, Wall Street has duped you into thinking you got to take risk. And what I would say is in most cases that is not the case. There's no reason to take all of this risk. So what we're going to do, let's take a quick break here, and when I come back, I'm going to go through a detailed analysis of how we might assess someone that's in what we call halftime, and then we'll follow that up with how we can help you kind of go through a proper assessment of your situation. So again, if you're in the 55 to late 60s range, you're in halftime, you need to stay tuned for this next segment. Good stuff coming up. You are listening to the Worry-Free Retirement. Imagine you or a loved one faces the prospects of going into a nursing home. The cost to you and your family? Enormous. Learn how to protect your assets from nursing homes during our next free live webinar with attorney and Medicaid planning expert Tom Kraus, Tuesday, June 4th at 12 noon. Also, Mr. Kraus will be appearing on the Worry-Free Retirement TV show to discuss the same topic on June 30th. To register for the live webinar and for complete TV show listings, log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com.
Two of the most difficult decisions in retirement planning is when to begin taking Social Security payments and how those Social Security payments will be taxed. Don't lose out on maximizing your Social Security benefits. Plan on attending a free once-in-a-lifetime Social Security workshop conducted by nationally recognized Social Security expert Heather Schreiber, Tuesday, June 11th in Louisville and Wednesday, June 12th in Bowling Green. There's no sense in wasting your valuable Social Security benefits when you can learn in this one-hour workshop setting. Tuesday, June 11th in Louisville and Wednesday, June 12th in Bowling Green. Learn the frequent mistakes that dog Americans and how you can easily avoid them. There will be plenty of time to answer your specific Social Security questions. While the workshop is free, registration is required as seating is limited, whether you're retired or retiring soon. Don't pass up this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to learn from Social Security expert Heather Schreiber. Register now at TonyWalkerFinancial.com. That's TonyWalkerFinancial.com.
Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement. Aaron and I were talking in the break, and I guess I didn't probably go into enough detail on the dinner, seminar invitations, and maybe the why. Aaron, ask your question again.
Well, Tony, I'm just kind of confused about all these dinner seminars and all the invitations because I don't get them. I'm 38. I mean, I've never gotten one in my life. But, perfect example, Gina, who works here in the office, her husband Carlos, she said he and her get them all the time. Why is that?
Okay, good point. I'll tell you why it is. AARP and some other resources, it's just not AARP. Let me kind of read you the statistic. Okay, here's the facts. Between now and 2030, I should have covered this in the last segment. I can see where this did make a lot of sense on the dinner seminars. So just think of the idea, all of this money that people have been stockpiling in 401ks. You with me? Okay. So between now and 2030, they're estimating that each and every day, I want to say day, D-A-Y, you with me? 10,000 baby boomers will reach the age of retirement or retire.
Every day?
Every day, 10,000. So now think about this. All of these baby boomers have 401ks. They're now trying to figure out, they're trying to assess, how am I going to take this money I've been stockpiling and turn it into income? How am I going to not run out of money? How do I tax tumors? They don't know what to do. They've never had to deal with these issues. So the financial world knows this. They're well aware of what is going on right now and the amount of money that's out there. Literally trillions of dollars is stockpiled in these plans. There's currently they estimate to have $28 trillion, Aaron, in retirement accounts. So you don't think the financial world knows this. So it's a trigger point for the financial world. They know when you retire, you're probably going to want to roll that 401k over to an individual advisor. We have people do it all the time. We do all kinds of 401k rollovers. So, but how are we going to find those people? Well, what a lot of people do, we don't do these, but a lot of people do the dinner seminars. It has been around for years, and quite frankly, it is a very, very successful marketing ploy. Because let's think about it. You don't have a relationship with anybody, right? You've been investing in a 401k. Right. All right, so they give you the pink slip, or you say, hey, Martha, I'm retiring, I'm done. And all of a sudden you got this 401k plan, and they know your age. They can get all these statistics. Folks, by the way, there are no secrets anymore. All right, they know. So anyway, you get 5, 6, 7, 8 dinner seminars, and you keep getting them in this juicy steak. And it's like, wait a minute, these are free. It can't hurt anything to go listen to these people. And many of these people are nice people. This is what Handy was talking about, well-intentioned, but unfortunately, other consequences result. So well-intentioned, well-meaning advisors offer to buy complete strangers a $50 steak dinner. You go. You don't have any relationship with an advisor. The advisor seems nice. They put on a nice dog and pony show. You meet with them. You say, yeah, I'm going to roll it over. Hopefully the advisor's giving you all the information. Unfortunately, I meet a lot of these people 3 or 4 years later. They didn't really know what they were getting, and they're locked into a lot of things they can't get out of. It's kind of a sad situation. So folks, here's my thoughts to you. Yeah, if you want to go to dinner seminars, go all you want. But there is a reason an advisor is willing to spend $5,000, $6,000, $10,000 in marketing and sending out all these mailers, spend several $1,000s for free dinners on a group of people, because they know you have money in your pocket. That's the bottom line. And that's how that's how we get paid. We don't have a problem with that. That's one reason we have this show. The show is an educational show. It's here to educate you, but obviously we're hoping that somebody listening out there say, hey, I like that Tony Walker guy. What he's saying resonates with me. I want to meet with Tony. Incidentally, if you do want to meet, that's really easy to do. Just go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and we can certainly arrange that. Now, I got to tell, if you're just now joining us, folks, we're talking about this concept of halftime and the idea, the balance you have to strike. A good retirement specialist can help you with this if they really care about you and your money. Help you understand the difference between saving money and storing it away, but also using and enjoying it while you can. So I know our theme has been pools. Now, I don't want to make light of this story. This is a true story, Aaron. So a couple of years ago, I met a couple. I never will forget this because he was pretty serious, pretty skeptical. She was wanting to retire. Now, he already had some health issues, so he was no longer working. You with me? They were in their early 60s. I looked at their situation. They had really humble lifestyle, very low means. They had done a good job saving. I said, hey, ma'am, if you want to retire, have at it. Okay? She was like, really? I said, oh, yeah, you can do this. And so we worked on all the paperwork, got all the money moved over. As we closed out everything, I said, by the way, what would you like to do now that you're retired? She said, I want to build a pool at our house. I've always wanted an in-ground pool. She's retired. That makes sense, doesn't it? And by the way, we're going to have Matt. Matt is kind of doing his own thing and helping us contractually with a lot of things. So he's training Megan Murphy, who will be Aaron's new sidekick soon. She's not officially his sidekick. She's sitting here staring at me trying to learn what, and I think she's now questioning, why did I let this guy hire me? Can I get my old job back? You're okay with this, Megan, aren't you? Is this good so far?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good answer, Megan. But anyway, so Matt's training her, so Aaron will have a brand new sidekick. But basically, where was I going with this, Aaron?
Talking about she wanted to build a pool.
There you go. So she wanted to build a pool. Makes sense, Megan. That's where I was going with it. Yeah, she's retired. And I looked at him and I said, you okay with that? And he said, no. I said, why? And he said, we don't have the money for that. I said, whoa. Wait a minute. You're getting ready to retire. She's going to be home full time. What if I told you I could find the money for that? He said, well, if you could find the money for it, but I don't think we got the money. So we went through the process again. I showed him how they could easily afford a pool. I kind of had to pull on him a little bit. And he said, all right, she can build the pool. Well, they built the pool. It was a fiasco. Apparently the neighbor was all upset because they had to bring a crane in and put everything over the house.
Yep.
He wouldn't let him through the yard.
I've seen that done before.
Oh, it was crazy.
They got lifted over the house and in the backyard. Yeah, I've seen that.
He said, hey, you ain't coming through my yard. But anyway, so they built the pool. They loved it. She came in yesterday. Her husband, who's 64, died a month ago. Okay, so I'm sitting there having to fill out death claim paperwork. Folks, I have to go from cradle to grave with a lot of people. This is the real world here. So I'm filling out the paperwork. We're trying to get everything transferred into her name. He's no longer here. He's 64. And I said, did he really enjoy that pool? She said he loved that pool. So my thought was, I was able to help him get something and do something he wanted to do while he could do it. And that may be you out there. You may be sitting there saying, well, Tony, yeah, it seems like since I've turned over my money to all the financial people out there, all they do is tell me I can't use it. So let me go through a quick example of a situation I just came into and how we would assess this situation. So I'm going to pick I'm making this stuff up because this is a small world. I found out you got to be careful giving too much details, Aaron. Somebody might say, hey, I think he's talking about Martha and Bill down the road. That sounds just like them. I didn't know they had that kind of money. But anyway, real quickly, let's take a female. The wife is 65. I run into this sometimes. The husband is 71. The wife wants to retire. He's already retired because he's 71. So I'm looking over their situation. She's got a nice job. She's got $500,000 roughly in her 401k. She doesn't have a pension. They've got about $30,000 in savings. She wants to buy a new car. That's one of her goals for retirement. They got a home worth $400,000. It's got about $80,000 in debt. If she draws Social Security now, she'll get $2,500 a month. All right, you kind of with me so far? Just typical things I run into. She's very nervous about the market, and she is a saver. She told me that. She watches the show all the time. Now, he's got a $100,000 IRA. He's taken his required minimum distributions. He worked for the government. He's got a $3,000 a month pension and Social Security $2,400 a month. But he is uninsurable. He cannot get life insurance. He listened to the guy on the radio all those years. He didn't have life insurance, and now we got a problem. So when she comes to me, I said, so what are you going to do with this money? And she said, well, I was planning on just leaving it in the stock market. And I said, how do you feel about that? And she said, I'm nervous as a cat. My husband says, don't worry about it, because if it goes down, it'll always come back.
It'll always come back up.
Yeah,
it always comes back up.
Now, we don't know this will happen, folks, but let's just look at what happened this past quarter, 2018. We're recording this show April of 2019. Folks, this past quarter, the market went down 20%. So this is what I showed her. I said, okay, let's go with that. The Wall Street tells you can take 4% out, so 4% of $500,000 is $20,000 or $1,600 a month. What Wall Street forgot to tell you is they're charging you 1.5% in fees. The market goes down immediately after she retires, just like it did in the last quarter. She now loses $96,000. Wall Street took $7,500 in fees, and now she's left after 1 year with $376,000. How do you think she's going to feel? Do you think she's excited about retirement?
She's probably wanting to keep working and try to make that money back.
So now, that's what she said when I showed her. So I said, what would you do? And she said, well, I'd go back to work. I said, you mean they're going to keep your job open? She went, well, probably not. I said, 65-year-old, you're going to go back and find a job making what you were making? And she said, that ain't going to happen. So, and in the meantime, if he dies first, he's 71. Remember, we talked about life expectancy, Aaron. Probably going to happen to him first. She loses his Social Security, $2,400 a month, plus half of his pension. She's got to make up for $3,900 a month, plus she has less money in her 401k. So folks, this is the type of stuff I see all the time. If you don't have a game plan from somebody that's experienced this, I've been doing this 35 years now, I've seen thousands of situations. There ain't much I haven't seen. We need to talk, and this is the best part of all. To meet with me in person, or if you'd like to just call on the phone and talk over the phone, I'm happy to do that. It's really easy to do. There's no cost or obligation. All you got to do is log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. And once there, you're going to click on that Let's Get Started button. Now, that is confidentially sent to our offices. We will follow up with you, and we can either meet in our Bowling Green or Louisville, Kentucky office. Or if you just want to start with a phone call, we can do that just to talk a little bit about your situation and see how we might help. If you want to call us Monday through Thursday, our office hours, it's 877-499-9255. That's 877-499-WALK. Well, we've enjoyed being with you today. Next week on our show, we're going to cover the third assessment phase, and that's the second half of life. And how do you assess your situation when you're in the second half of life? Really, really good stuff for you out there that are in that phase of life or have parents in that phase of life. But you remember, between now and next week, from the time we get together, if all else fails, you be worry-free.